We just saw the total collapse of the Cuban national electric grid. Over 10 million people without power. What does this mean? This is a perfect opportunity to talk about food storage and why the normies in modern-day USA would be screwed. First of all, regardless of political views and personal emotions, I'm praying for Cuba and the innocent people there. Normal people usually go to Walmart, H-E-B, Publix, Stop and Shop, or whatever grocery store is in your area and buy cold or frozen foods, go home, and put it in the fridge or freezer. Yeah, sure, some of that's probably canned or boxed foods, maybe some pasta for a meal or two. But what happens to that cold food inside the fridge or freezer if the grid went down? Canned foods are some of the best preps we can possibly get. So long as the can is in good condition, no rust or dents, canned foods can last a surprisingly long time and with minimal effort to cook. Now, of course, canned foods are not a zero risk, but what in life is? The biggest risk to canned foods would be botulism. While botulism is rare, there are signs of it. For instance, if the can is bulging or swollen, the lid pops up or spits foam or fluids when opening, a foul, rotten, or unusual odor, or leaking, rusted, and severely dented cans, these can all be signs that botulism could potentially be present. One of the best ways to prevent this is simply by going through your preps every once in a while, looking through your cans, and taking anything out that is damaged, rusted, leaking, or swollen. Just get rid of those. One important thing to remember about botulism: it cannot reliably be detected by taste, smell, or sight, so always be sure to inspect your cans thoroughly. When buying canned foods, there are a few different important things that I would look for before actually getting it. The biggest thing that I would look for is, are you and your family actually going to eat this? Does it taste good, or is it going to be something that's bland? The next thing that I would look for is how many calories are in it. In an emergency, calories can be very important to have. You don't want to be running on empty. I've always said it, nothing in life is free, including energy for your body. Think of calories like your body's currency. You buy energy and strength with calories. Now, obviously, canned foods aren't the only thing that you want to be adding to your preps. Things like dried food, beans, rice, and pastas are all very good picks. You're going to want to have a good bit of variety in your preps. Trust me, if everything goes to hell and all you have is some bland canned food that you're not really liking, you're going to have a very rough time. Things like beans, rice, pasta, and buckwheat should all be put into Mylar bags, sealed up with oxygen absorbers inside of them. What this does is it protects the food and extends its shelf life. Another fantastic food prep to get would be canned meats. Love it or hate it, Spam is a classic prepper staple. It has an incredible shelf life, is already cooked, and can be eaten cold or heated up. They've got a ton of different flavors available, so it isn't just the classic. Canned meats and fish are massive items to prep, and it's an easy protein. Another great item is powdered milk. It's got an insane shelf life and is easy to prepare. Again, all of this should be something that you and your family will eat. It's kind of pointless to get stuff you're never going to eat or your family will not eat. That brings me into the next chapter of this video. After you've got all your food items squared away, you'll want to stock up on spices. Flavor is an unmatched luxury in an emergency that's just too easy not to keep on hand. Let's touch on one more topic before we line up for final approach. What foods should you avoid? I wouldn't recommend buying a lot of freeze-dried survival foods unless you've got a lot of money and don't really care for taste. While these are amazing for long-term and emergencies, and I'm not saying don't buy them, I am saying don't rely solely on them. Emergency freeze-dried food buckets are a very expensive prep and physically take up a lot of space you could use for prepping other items. MREs, or meals ready to eat, are an okay prep, but just like the freeze-dried foods, these are also a very expensive prep item that you should avoid blowing your budget on. Some other things I myself would straight up avoid getting for prepping would be anything dairy that isn't powdered, refrigerated, and frozen foods. Again, I'm not saying don't buy these. I'm saying I wouldn't prep these. Think non-perishable foods for prepping. Now that we've covered the basics on what foods you should and shouldn't get, let's talk about storage. I've already touched on the Mylar bags, but for everything else, you should put it in the pantry where it's not going to get too hot or too cold. You don't want to let moisture get into this area for obvious reasons. And always label your preps with the date you got them. When storing your preps, think of it like a first in, first out kind of thing. That means the first stuff that you get is the first stuff that you use. Always rotate your preps to make sure the fresh stuff is ready for you and your family. Short final, landing gear down, and flaps full. I'll leave you with this. When you're buying your food preps, ask yourself, if the power went out, will this food still be good? And how hard will it be to make this food? One last thing. I'm going to start working on a dollar cost to calorie calculator mobile app to show just how much money you're paying per calorie in whatever food product you're buying. Until the next one, stay safe, keep prepping, and don't forget to live your life.